What's up, guys? Welcome back, man. Jackpot DFS, dude. Hope you all have had a great week. Man, kind of crazy week. I had a birthday yesterday, so been kind of a crazy week. And then the kids got sent home again this week because of COVID. So been kind of unexpected and things like that going on. But getting all that kind of stuff getting settled and all that stuff, as well as following up with the of the Thanksgiving week and all that kind of stuff's been kind of different. But hey, we're all adjusting in American life right now with the COVID situation. I guess better safe than sorry. But anyway, guys, let's look at the final look for our video for NFL this week. Some bright spots this week. Shouldn't be hard to get a great lineup in this week. We're going to take a look at it in a breakdown of position by position. As always, guys, if you haven't liked and subscribed to the videos, please do so. Helps grow the channel, helps get it out there, and helps get the views, and helps grow the channel for other viewers who need DFS advice. Guys, hope you've all had a great week. Let's look into it, starting with our quarterback position. Not high on Russell Wilson this week. I do think this week you'll kind of pay down a little bit. For me, I'm going to. I think you just got the better options this week at lower prices at quarterback this week. Obviously, first guy I'm going to look at is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has been pretty unstoppable this season. Love him tomorrow against Philadelphia. Philadelphia's got a lot of issues on their offense. I know Carson Wentz came out this week and admitted to the football team, had a locker room conference with the teammates, and admitted that he had been at fault for a lot of mistakes they've had on offense and things like that this week. However, I don't see them being able to stand here with this Packers team and how good they've been this season. Do see that being another L for them this season, and hurting their playoff chances again with another game down. Like Aaron Rodgers, last three games, 29, 27, and a 26. Shouldn't do too much to stop them. Philadelphia's been pretty good on pass rush and stopping the run this season. Could slowing like the run game down a little bit maybe. But as far as stopping Aaron Rodgers through the air, I just don't see that happening tomorrow. I love him tomorrow. He's one of my favorite QBs for tomorrow. Moving down, like Cousins as well. It's kind of one of those things where you kind of pick your poison. Cook is also in a great spot tomorrow, so you kind of pick your poison on which way you want to go with this. 6,400 for Kirk Cousins. Should have Thielen back this week. Should be primed for a nice offensive game against Jacksonville. Last three games, a 19, a 27, and a 30 for Kirk Cousins at a cheaper price. I don't know if you want to go, if you fade Cook, I think you should go with the Kirk Cousins, correlate that, and go with one of his pass catchers. I think it doesn't correlate always as very good unless Cook is catching touchdown passes. He is involved in the passing game. I just don't know how well that works correlating with Kirk Cousins in a stack tomorrow. Taysom Hill still starting at quarterback for the Saints, going against a terrible Atlanta defense. Should be in another prime position to go up against Atlanta. He just faced Atlanta not too long ago, had a 25. Could be another great game for Taysom Hill this week at only a $6,300 price on DraftKings. A little bit more expensive on FanDuel for good reason, in a great spot tomorrow against that Atlanta Falcon defense. Another guy to like this week is Ryan Tannehill. He's been pretty good this season, but at the same time, another guy in a great matchup is Derrick Henry. That'll be some choices you have to make this week between the two. Last three games, 11, a 23, and a 19. Last time, he hasn't played against Cleveland in a little while, so but in a great matchup. They're on 19th on defense, 21st by position against opposing quarterbacks. He should be in a prime matchup tomorrow. Another couple guys I like this week is Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick's back and starting helm. Should be starting tomorrow. Still kind of up in the air on Tua. It's possible I guess he could come still play. But we'll keep our eyes on that on the injury news and make sure that Ryan Fitzpatrick's not going to be benched for Tua. But if Ryan Fitzpatrick starts, I do like him tomorrow as well. Another guy going against Houston, their bad defense. is Phillip Rivers, $5,900 price. 19, 22, and a 19 in the last 3 games. Had a 24 last game against Houston. Should be in a nice spot. Not going to give you any mobility, but nice in a passing environment. As well as Cam Newton on his feet. Should be, as long as he plays. I know he was limited in practice, but should be in a good position as well. There's lots of quarterbacks to like this week. You go with Jared Goff, who should be in a great matchup again against Arizona. Last couple games against Arizona, he's at a 28 and a 28. At $5,800 price, I think that's a good matchup on paper. Derek Herr, again, is in a great matchup this week. I'm going to fade him most likely because he's just let me down every time I've played him. Just not done very good in even great spots this week or against this season. Just not been, he's been in great spots and just disappointed. So I'm going to fade him this week. I may have a couple lines with him, but probably if I'm going to pay around his price, I'll probably go to a Jared Goff or a Phillip Rivers instead. They've been a little bit more in a great matchup as well, and I don't have the disappointment that I have so much with Carr if I just go to Jared Goff instead. I just think that's a better choice. Another guy a lot of people are buzzing about this week is Mitchell Trubisky going against Detroit. Nick Foles could play still, so we'll just have to wait and see. If Nick Foles doesn't play, obviously we're going to go with Mr. Trubisky. He should be in a great matchup against the awful Detroit Lions defense. And then a couple other guys like Baker Mayfield's in a great spot this week at 5,300. Had a 12 last time against Tennessee. And holding out hope a little bit for Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold could bring it back and have a nice game against the Raiders. I mean, he's not been great this season, but they've had some talks about how bad they've been. Their coach's job is probably on the line if he's not fired already. Just waiting for the season to end. So could see some nice performances from Sam Darnold, just kind of building that confidence up before the season ends. And he gives you some mobility as well on the feet. Another guy that's at $4,100 that could be a nice value save this week against a terrible Minnesota defense and didn't look bad last week was Mike Glennon. I do like him this week for a cheap play. Could also pair him with some cheap receivers if you're looking to stack at running back this week. Could be a nice save, and you could very well stack in the receiver department with the limitations they have on receivers right now. So lots of guys to choose from, a lot of guys to like this week. So a lot of different ways you can go at running quarterback this week. Now, what brings us to the hardest decisions to make this week on paper, obviously, with the running backs. Dalvin Cook disappointed last game, but he should be bounced back in a great spot this week against Jacksonville. Again, he's been a monster. He let us down last week, but should be back to his true form this week. The decision you'll have to make a lot of the way is probably going to be Derrick Henry or Cook. There are some other options you can go this week, but for me, I'm just not at the point right now where I'm going to fade. I'm at the point where I think you should fade Derrick Henry anymore this season. He's just matchup proof. Actually, you can see the ownership's still going to go to Dalvin Cook at a higher price. You save $300 by going to Derrick Henry. However, I do think Derrick Henry's matchup proof, and he's going to get the rock no matter what. Game script be damned. He's going to get the rock, and he's going to score, as he showed us last week. He's going up against a nice matchup this week, again, against Cleveland. They're not, I don't know if they're built to necessarily stop a Derrick Henry force. I do like him this week still. Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, both in prime matchups this week. If I had to pick one, I guess obviously I'd go with one at lower ownership, which brings me to Nick Chubb at a $7,700 price on DraftKings this week. I think Nick Chubb is in a great spot against Tennessee. He's coming in right now to projected ownership of 4%. So if you take Nick Chubb instead and save that money instead, that could put you in a nice spot, especially if he scores about the same of what these other two top backs are going to score. So looking back, at my next guy on the list is James Robertson as well, going back against Minnesota. They've been terrible. He's getting the rock plenty at a $7,300 price. I think you can very well go James Robinson this week. He's not been disappointing. 16, 11, and a 30 the last 3 games. Getting plenty of opportunities running the ball. as well as he got 6 targets last week as well. So that can continue the trend in the right direction for James Robertson against a bad defense in Minnesota. Aaron Jones, not so high on him this week. I do think Aaron Rodgers is just going to throw. He's been kind of a letdown, but that's a stiff price to pay for a lot of uncertainty, and especially against a decent run defense. And Philadelphia, I think I'm just going to avoid Aaron Rodgers this week. And if I want to pay around that price, I'm going to go to a James Robinson or Nick Chubb or something like that. I just think you get better matchup on paper. And I think you get a better performance from those two because those guys are not so they don't have an Aaron Rodgers or a Adams to throw to, so you get a little bit more. You're going to get a better performance out of those guys around that same price. Austin Eckler is obviously back. Got 16 targets last week in the backfield. That's unheard of for a running back. He's obviously back to being Eckler, the Eckler way. Should see plenty of targets tomorrow. I love him tomorrow as well. Should be back in the fold to do what Austin Eckler does. Moving on to the next running back on the list that I like for the week. I'm going to pass like Miles Sanders, stuff like that. They signed Jordan Howard, and they're going to have him coming in active for the game. The thing with Miles Sanders is that he's been let down a little bit because they don't utilize him the way they should. And until they start using Miles Sanders and letting him get those goal line carries and things like that, he's just going to underperform every single week. Until they allow him. And then with the Jordan Howard thing, he can come in and steal those goal line carries and just hurt his value that much more. So with that being said, I'm going to avoid Miles Sanders and not suggest anybody else do so because this is going to hurt his value, especially with Jordan Howard coming back in the fold. Moving on, Chris Carson, you could take a stab on this week. I do like some other guys in this price range better. At a cheaper value. Jonathan Taylor kind of come on strong last game. He got 22 rushes in the game before. He was out obviously for COVID, but now he's back. Could expect him to have a big role in that offense tomorrow against a terrible run defense. Nice position for $5,700 price. Wayne Gallman is going up against Seattle, who's been terrible on defense this season as well. They have gotten better. What they've been earlier in the season compared to what they are to now are completely different opposites. However, Wayne Gallman is involved in the passing game as well as running. He's been pretty consistent, 15, 19, and 18. I do like him again tomorrow against Seattle. And then moving on to some other guys I like this week. Obviously, David Montgomery's in a prime spot against a bad Detroit defense tomorrow. I do think he'll get some run, regardless of who the running back is. They'll allow him to run and catch the ball a little bit at the backfield. And then Devontae Booker obviously is going to get a bulk of the load tomorrow against a bad Jets defense. He's looking at high ownership. Both these guys are right now because of the expectancy of what they'll have to do tomorrow in games. For a good reason. Obviously, Jacobs is out for this game, so a lot of love for Devontae Booker tomorrow. Always Kareem Hunt, always a guy you can target. He's going to get work. A couple other guys I like is Nyheim Hines. He's going to be involved. He won't be such involved like he was last week because of Jonathan Taylor being out, but he'll still be utilized. They run a kind of a committee backfield there in Indianapolis, and then Frank Gore is going to get expected a good workload still at $4,400 price against a bad Raiders defense. However, if Frank Gore can sneak into the end zone at a $4,400 price and break 100 yards, I don't know that he'll get 100 yards, but he could break in for a couple of touchdowns. If that happens, he obviously is going to break a lot of value on that at 4,400. I think it's worth the stab. That's pretty good value for 4,400. And then not too much else to like down here this week. A lot of guys are in tough matchups this week. Some small love for the backfield of the Patriots, but the problem with that is that you don't know who's going to run the ball for them. Kind of the same thing with the Rams. You don't know who's going to run the ball for them. They're doing a lot of committee things, and it's just hard to bank your money on that. If you're playing multiple lines, of course, you can go that way, but it's kind of really hard to judge off that. You want to solidify those spots for guys you know who's going to get the role. And I think with the value you're getting this week and running back and quarterback and things like that, you shouldn't have to go there. this week. I think you just play it safe and go with those guys you know is going to get a bulk of the load, and you don't have to wonder about those kind of things. Moving on to wide receivers. Obviously, first guy on the list going to be Devonte Adams. He's obviously been exceptional this year. He's had a 20, a 27, and an 18. Can continue to get the rock, and I don't see that changing tomorrow. I know he's at a hefty price tag, but I still think he's deserving of that price. DK Metcalf, I'm probably going to fade this week. They have a little bit better corner matchup in Giants, and they do have a decent defense. It's hard to trust that high of a price tag with the committee because it's either DK Metcalf or Lockett that usually goes off. And I don't know that I see DK Metcalf going off tomorrow, and I want to play him over like a Keenan Allen or an A.J. Brown who's in great spots tomorrow. I think I'll just fade him and go with some other guys that I like in better spots tomorrow. Obviously, Keenan Allen's still getting plenty of targets. 7, 19, and 10 in the last 3 games with targets. A 13, a 39, and a 16. I mean, he's just getting targeted a ton. A.J. Brown's obviously been pretty good this season as well. 4, 7, and 6 targets, but he gets a lot of touchdown equity because he's catching a touchdown about a game every game. Had a 16 last time against Cleveland, which brings me to Adam Thielen in another great matchup tomorrow. Before he went down for a week with the COVID situation, he was on fire. 7 and 11 targets, had a 20 and a 35. Should have a nice bounce back game tomorrow against a great matchup tomorrow at a $7,300 price on DraftKings. A couple other guys I like. I'm going to stay away from Michael Thomas this week. I just think that with Taysom Hill in the game, I think he just takes away a lot of the performance from the receivers by running so much. So I'd rather go to a guy like Justin Jefferson or a Thielen or something around that same price. I think you're just going to get, when you go with quarterbacks you know are not going to take away from the performance of the receivers by running the ball or running it in the zone. I just think that gives you a better floor for receivers you're going to play, obviously. And looking at Allen Robinson, he's in a great matchup tomorrow. Devontae Parker as well. Could see another great game from Jarvis Landry. He had a great game last week, 31 with 11 targets. Then you have to kind of make those decisions with like Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. They should be again in great matchups tomorrow. Another guy to kind of look at. I'm not liking Brandon Cooks too much, especially with the Will Fuller news. A lot of concentration is going to be on him now. Will Fuller is going to be out the next 6 games of his career because he got caught taking performance-enhancing drugs. So a lot of that focus shifts to Cooks to number 1 as the receiver role. However, they're going up against a good defense tomorrow in Indianapolis, and that'll be a little tough for them tomorrow. Could be a sneaky stab if you wanted to go that route if you're playing multiple lines. Guys back in the fold, DJ Chark should be a nice matchup tomorrow. Sterling Shepard, Nelson Aguilar, Corey Davis as well. These guys are all priced around the same. Alan Lazard is back for the Packers, so he could be in a great matchup tomorrow as well against Philly. Nice physical big receiver. Michael Pittman as well. There's plenty of ways to go and plenty of ways to save money this week. Another guy to like for the Rams is Josh Reynolds. You start getting to hearing some value guys. Josh Reynolds, Denzel Mims had 8, 8, and 8 targets, 10 and 10 and 11 at a $4,100 price. Then you've got some guys you can really take stabs at here. Brashad Perriman, $3,900 price, 7, 4, and 8. Golden Tate with 5 and 9 targets, 6 and an 8. Keelan Cole, 7, 5, and 6, 22, a 5, and a 7. Chenault at a 4-target game, 7 last game. Jakeem Grant with a 5, 6, and 2-target game. Zach Pascal. If there's some reason that Mooney does not play tomorrow, he did not practice on Friday, you can go to a guy like Anthony Miller at $3,100 against that bad Detroit defense. He should move into that number 2 for sure for the Chicago Bears and should see a nice target share. He's already seen 8, 7, and 6 the last 3 games. That target share could go up even more without Darnell Mooney. Also like Adam Humphries tomorrow as some other guys to like. And then if you want to kind of go the other route and go Tyler Lockett, you can save money and go to him at $7,400. Also can go with Mike Williams at 4,800 if you want to pivot away from the Allen. And he's had some nice games. Several different ways to go here. You've also got Darius Slayton at 4,600. Emmanuel Sanders if you want to pivot away from the Michael Thomas stuff. Several different ways to go, and I like all these guys to be in great matchups, as well as Vanting Scantling. He's been that big play receiver that goes off. He had a 28 a couple games ago. Could see a long field down pass throw. He'll be less than 1% ownership. Could be in great spots tomorrow. And then a guy like Demir Bird, still seeing plenty of targets. 7-7 the last 2 games. Had a 29 and a 6, only at 3,900. Still really cheap. Different ways to go, guys. I mean, you have to get different. Yeah, I could also see Cordell Patterson having some more snaps if you see Mooney out tomorrow for the Bears. The -1 on the ownership, so he'll be cheap and low owned. There's different ways to go if you want to try to get away from ownership and go different ways. And obviously with Will Fuller out, Cootie could get some more targets as well out there for Houston. So cheap ways to go at lower ownership to get different, obviously in tournaments tomorrow. Moving on to tight ends, obviously Darren Waller is always in a great spot. He's $6,100 this week, high price to pay. He let us a lot. He let me down big time last week. Do think he's in another great matchup this week. Again, if you want to pay that price, I'm going to pay down this week and not take the risk myself. Just don't think it's worth the risk. You pay $6,100 for a tight end, and he goes out there and gets hurt, or goes out there and gets 2 or 3 catches and lets you down. It's just too high to pay for that kind of thing when you can get other guys that are way cheaper and just great matchups as well. Evan Ingram is my guy first on the board here this week. Going to pass over Dallas Goedert this week and go down to Mike Gesicki. Think he's in a great matchup against Cincinnati tomorrow, only 4,200. As well as Austin Hooper. I know he hasn't had a big day, but he is capable of having big days, and he should be in prime gear against a bad Tennessee defense tomorrow. Also, love for my guy Robert Tanyan for Green Bay, only $3,700 on DraftKings. Had a 4, a 5, and a 5 in targets. Had a 6, a 15, and 18. Could be a nice guy to pair up with a stack with Aaron Rodgers tomorrow. A couple other guys to really like this week. Trey Burton for Indianapolis has stepped up big for the Colts. And a guy a lot of people are going to be on this week because he is an excellent playmaker at tight end is Anthony Fisher. Should be a nice play at $2,500 tomorrow. I think you just lock him in and go with it. $2,500 is a nice play to save you at tight end tomorrow. And you can just go that route and just don't even have to wonder about it. They're going in a great matchup against a terrible defense. I think you just play it and go with it. At first, you should be on the field a lot. He's playing 36% of the snaps technically, but with injury to Smith, he should be out there a lot more than that. Has a good chance to kill that value at $2,500 tomorrow. I think he's a lock and load, easy cash play option tomorrow at tight end. Other guys to like, Zach Ertz, it appears to be back for Philadelphia, but I don't think that's really going to matter against that Green Bay defense. I don't see them being a big part of that tomorrow. Other guys, Higbee is questionable, or was questionable. Looks like he's good to go now. Nothing to really like. They're going against Arizona's fixed that tight end problem that they had last year. Shouldn't be an issue. I think you stick with your wide receivers and the Rams side of things tomorrow. Looking on, not really much to like other than that. You could go with Pruitt maybe as a backup. But if you're going to play Pruitt, you might as well just go ahead and play Ferkshire. I don't see the point. This is pretty minimal price on DraftKings for tight ends. But moving on to our defenses. Obviously, first on the board is going to be the Dolphins. Obviously, going against that backup quarterback, and for Cincinnati, I like that play tomorrow. Also, like the Packers, obviously Wentz has been terrible this season. I think he's just going to continue to be terrible. I don't think they use the options that they have very good. I don't think they utilize Miles Sanders the way they should. Could leave for a nice game for Green Bay tomorrow at $3,800. Also, know that Stafford's questionable. He'll most likely play, but they've been inefficient this season, and they've been inefficient really lately because Stafford's dealing with that thumb issue on his hand. If Matt can get back there and stuff and disrupt him tomorrow and pull on that hand or something like that, is no telling he could be out of the game in the first quarter. We just don't know. But I like the Bears defense tomorrow at a $3,100 price. Also, some other plays to like. Do like that Colts defense tomorrow at 3,000. Without Will Fuller, that takes a major part of their offense out of the equation. They are going to have David Johnson back, but he's been terrible this year too. Don't really see that saving them this season. Some pay down options this week that you could go to. You could take a stab with the Rams defense tomorrow at 3,200. I like them against. They have been pretty good this season. I know Kyler Murray, he has moments when he just kind of disappears and doesn't have a very good game. This could be one of those games. They've had a 13 and 5 and a 15 the past 3 games. A couple other defenses alike. If you want to take some real low stabs this week, the Giants at 2,200 could be a nice saving defense this week. I know they're going against Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson's been on the run this season. Their offensive line have had a lot of troubles. New York has actually been pretty good on defense this season, outside of the offensive problems they've had. Could be a competitive game, and I could see the Giants stepping up their defense and keeping tabs on Russell Wilson tomorrow, especially with the sack upside of them. Could be a nice cheap defense to go with tomorrow. A couple other cheap defenses to go with. Is the Jets defense. Obviously, Carr's been terrible here lately. They're not going to have Jacobs. Could go that option with the Jets defense tomorrow. They've been past 2 games. They've had a 10 and a 9. If you can get that at a almost minimal defense, that's pretty damn good. I think the Jets are a good pivot down if you want to save a defense and pay up elsewhere. Definitely an option. I could see that happening for tomorrow. All you really need is bad car. Bad car shows up, and then that works out for in your favor. And then last team you can see it taking a stab at bare minimum is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have showed up on defense sometimes this season. Not saying that they'll be able to stop that, and I'm not as confident. I'm more confident in the Jets D than I am the Jaguars D. However, they can make things happen, and all it takes is a defensive touchdown or something to happen, or them to show up, and then things could turn for the worst for Minnesota, and then here you are with the low percent on Jacksonville defense. I do think that Jets defense is probably my low cheap play of the week on defense. Obviously, guys, we're still having Draft Dashboard down in the below in the description. If you guys haven't checked out Draft Dashboard, this is the tool that I use to set up my fantasy advice, my fantasy plays of the week, as well as I use this for my DFS fantasy plays that I play in lines and different things like that. This is simple, guys. You can use Draft Dashboard in the bottom of the description. You can click that link and try it for 30 days. As I said before, it gives you plenty of different tools that you can use to set up your own personal lines, our own personal player pool that you're going to use to set up for lines to use on Sundays, Thursdays, Mondays, Sunday night slates, etc. You can build single game lineups. You can build classic with the main slates on Sundays. Pretty soon we'll start having those Saturday slates, things like that. So that'll be nice tools to use during that time. This is also able to use for the NBA, the MLB, and the NHL as well. Simple, guys. You pretty much click the link here, watch player for the guys you like this week or for that single game, etc. You can build a line up to 150 lines that you can export to DraftKings or FanDuel. And, if you feel you want to adjust from there, you can do so, export, etc. to and go up in value there. But obviously, I'm going to do a line this week just to kind of show you guys how this works. So I've already picked some players this week that I like. It's going to throw me out a lineup this week, and you can also choose a GPP line. You can use a cash line, so I'm going to switch that over to cash, and I'm going to generate my line here. Obviously, you see it's loading me up some nice players this week that I like. It's obviously giving me Aaron Rodgers, who I like this week. It's giving me Devonte Adams to pair up with him. Anthony Ferkshire, who's in a great spot this week that I love at $2,500. It's giving me Allen Robinson, great matchup this week. Anthony Miller, great matchup this week. Devontae Parker, another great matchup this week. Frank Gore out of savings and lining me up with James Robertson. Now, would I stick with this? Probably not, because I want to downgrade my defense. I can go over here. I said I like the Jets defense. I can downgrade that and go to a $2,100 on that, which allows me to pay up here, which I'll probably want to pay up a little bit more here and go with a better running back. Obviously, Devontae Booker's in a good spot. That could correlate nasty, so we kind of don't want to put that against our Jets defense. However, we can go up to, let's just go up to a Jonathan Taylor in a great matchup this week against Houston. Then we kind of go up and we can kind of go up to a Nick Chubb, who I also love this week. I'll kind of leave Robinson because I like him this week in a great spot. And then I can kind of look and see if let's upgrade my receiver matchup here, and let's see what I can get at 3,500. Obviously, Marvin Hall's in a great, not in a great matchup this week, so I don't want to go there. Obviously, if Mooney plays, that's a great matchup. But looking around, Zach Pascal should be a nice target this week. Cootie's obviously going to be out there playing a lot more because of the Will Fuller stuff. So let's just go there. And then boom, guys. I mean, you can go that lineup. You can change it around. You can fix it. You can upgrade. You can downgrade. Different ways that you can go to kind of build yourself a lineup. In this lineup, it's going to give you the percentage that they're owned. You can play around with that if you want to. You save that lineup, and it goes into your save lineups. And then you can, once you've saved all those lineups and built those lineups yourself, you can go and export those to DraftKings or FanDuel. And if you just want it to spit you out a bunch of lineups, you can always use the mass generator. Just say, for instance, you've got a lineup built and then you decide you want a late swap because you got some late injury news that Jonathan Taylor is going to be out. Then obviously you want to go to your player pool. You want to take Jonathan Taylor out. You want to take Nyheim Hines if that's who's going to start the game for the Colts. And then you can do the late swap optimizer where it takes all those out of there and fixes those lineups for you in FanDuel or DraftKings at easier pace. And that's all the tools. Imagine that you have 150 lineups settled in, and then you have to go in because you just got a 15-minute update before the lock starts at 15 minutes from now. It's 12:45, and the lineup start, or the lock is at 1 o'clock, and you've got to fix 150 lineups that you have of Jonathan Taylor. Imagine how hard and difficult that will be. You're not going to make it. So using a tool like Draft Dashboard is going to help you eliminate that problem by fixing it easily, fast, and get your lineup settled so you don't lose money. So just think about that kind of thing, guys. Anyway, guys, that's it for the video today. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't done so already. Remember, Draft Dashboard is in the description of the video. You can click that link and try it for 30 days, as well as I will post my Twitter account there in the description below as well, so you guys can follow me over there if you're not doing so already. Like and subscribe to the video, guys. I appreciate you guys, and I wish you all the best of luck tomorrow. Have a great rest of your weekend and win some money, guys. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.